Hello, and welcome to Women in Business, where we interview entrepreneurs and senior managers and show you the strengths, successes, obstacles, and roadblocks women experience in business. Since I believe every person in business needs to be visible, I'd like to invite you to watch www.sob6, that's the number 6, tips.com, which will give you some valuable information should you get the call to be on radio or TV, which I think is extremely important. If you'd like to contact me personally, drop me a line at Gayle Carson, that's Gayle, Gayle Carson 13 at gmail.com, or go to my website, www.spunkyoldbroad.com, and sign up for my weekly newsletter.
Hi, everyone. This is Gayle Carson, and my guest today is Delores Hirschmann. She is a strategist and coach and helps clients clarify their idea worth sharing, design their communication strategies, and implement business growth systems. Her clients become speakers and authors and take their message to larger audiences like TEDx and beyond. She works through group coaching, workshops, one-on-one coaching, as well as public speaking, and is a writer, a TEDx organizer, and a participant in TED conferences. She is CTI certified, an ICF accredited coach, and has a business degree from the University of San Andres in Argentina. She's originally from Buenos Aires and speaks fluent Spanish, English, French, and lives in Massachusetts with her husband and 4 children. Welcome, Dolores.
Thank you. Thank you, Gayle, for having me.
Well, my cat sitter, by the way, is from Buenos Aires. And my cat, my Dylan, my wonderful 11-year-old Siamese, is from Buenos Aires as well, believe it or not. And when I got him, he only understood Spanish. He did not understand English. And he had a different name, so I renamed him, and now he understands English. So how about that? So let's talk about your business. You have a business called Masters in Clarity. What led you to become a Chief Clarity Officer?
It's a great question. One of the things that I talk a lot about this is about life purpose, right? And when I did my own personal work about what about everything I've ever done is consistent, right? What is a common denominator of everything? And for me, since I was very young, I've been always attracted, for better or worse, I've always been attracted to confusion and chaos.
And not too good.
That could be a really bad thing. But the truth is, it's almost like I've been attracted to puzzle pieces not put together. For me, they're the same. And so I love the process of guiding or working with a situation. It could be someone's thoughts, it could be a relationship, it could be a business mess, but sorting out the pieces and helping and guiding someone to put the puzzle together. That is at the core of my life purpose. So when I was looking for the name of this business, which I launched 6 years ago, what kept coming up for me is that I can help people in a lot of ways, but mostly the way I help them the most is to create frameworks for clarity and guide them through that framework. And so Masters in Clarity is not about me being the master, is that my clients become masters of their own clarity.
So who primarily are your clients? What type of people do you work with primarily?
My clients are service entrepreneurs. I actually call them ideapreneurs. They're people who are usually over 40 years old, who have had a career, who have played with a lot of, career paths or experiences. And it are those people that come to me and say, well, how do I put all this together and create a business with all this kind of mix of things and experiences that they have? That's one kind of client. And the other kind of client is a client that have already embarked in that pursuit and now is looking at, okay, how do I actually turn up the volume? How do I stand out in my marketplace with this idea of service that might look like everybody else's, because at the end of the day, we are all doing similar work, but it is different. And so I help them understand how to clarify and communicate that difference and how to stand out in their market.
So is there a common challenge that these two different groups have? I mean, what is the biggest challenge you find with your clients?
Whether you've been in business for 15 years or you haven't started, chances are you still have self-doubt around your messaging and your positioning. So the common denominator is the clarity of owning and communicating your value proposition.
Yeah, I can see where that would be. You know, that's a lot of people get all involved in talking too much about what they do, and still, when they're done, nobody knows what they're talking about.
Yeah,
So that's really where the clarity does come in, and that really brings me to TEDx.
Yeah.
You're a TEDx organizer.
Yeah.
And most people who are listening know what TEDx is, but I want you to describe it, what that means, because TEDx, you have to get your message out, and it has to be an unusual message, something that people have not heard before in a very short amount of time. So people have found that challenging, and yet it can be done because it's done very well. So tell us what being a TEDx organizer means.
Yes, great. So I became a TEDx organizer as a result of asking myself, what would I do for free all day long? And what it means is that when I launched my coaching career, I went from business consulting to becoming more of an executive and life coach. And I loved it, but I was bored. There was something missing. So I became a TEDx organizer because I asked myself, what would I do for free? And the answer was, I would hang out with people with big ideas all day long. And in doing so, I learned a lot about myself. And I learned that in this role of clarity that I've always had, I can help a speaker clarify their core idea and access this stage. And by being an organizer, I recognize that most people want that kind of exposure, but they can't access their own clarity of their work to effectively communicate it. And so a TEDx stage is a stage that requires that you don't share a story. Some people think that that's the case, and that's not true. A TEDx stage is not about the story you can tell. It's about the idea you will share with an audience to make their life better in one way or another. And so a story, a way to illustrate that idea. But most people have really compelling stories, but they have not extracted the idea out of it. We all have ideas, don't get me wrong, but most of us haven't really done the digging work to extract that idea and present it as its own thing. So it's all kind of mixed into the story. And so my job is to, as an organizer, I would help my speakers as I'm getting them on stage. Is like, okay, your story is very powerful. Let's extract the idea so that your story, that your experience can become someone else's. Because when we are telling stories, you're really talking about yourself. You're not necessarily extracting the idea. And so you are missing the opportunity of gifting that idea to your audience. Does that make any sense, Gayle?
It does make sense. And I'm just thinking, I'm trying to think of the people that I've heard doing TED Talks, and I've also thinking of people who use story, to tell and get across their point. And if you can craft that story in a meaningful way where the idea, exactly what you're talking about, the idea comes and kind of hits them in the middle of the forehead, that's what you're looking for. And that takes an extreme talent to do that. So that's wonderful that you coach people in that. So what would you say is the way that you align your inside growth with your outside growth? And how do you differentiate that? Because when you're growing from the outside, it does internalize. So I'm trying to understand the difference between the two.
Yes. So let me answer it and correct me if I'm not answering the way you want me to. But I think outside growth is when the outside is challenge you to go or do something, right? And in many ways, it can be the trigger for the inside growth. So let me give you a very clear example. In 2016, I'm a mother of 4. I have a husband. We have a wonderful family. And I've always had I'm grateful that I always had the opportunity to be both a full-time mom and have my business. So my business was always the second income in the house. And I was able to manage my time to be with my children. 2016, my husband, because of a problem with his business, and he has a family business, one of those nightmare situations that you always think, it will never happen to us. Well, we got in the middle of that. But to make the story short, within 30 days, I basically realized I was going to become the only income. That is an external situation, if you want. It wasn't something that I looked for. It was just what happened. And I spent a month literally hiding under my pillow saying, this is horrible. I can't do this. My business is not big enough, evolved enough, or whatever to take on this pressure. We're a big family. And I spent a month resisting the reality, resisting the outside change. And then after a month, the reality was there. It wasn't going to go away. And I had a choice. I either continue resisting and see where we would end, or embrace the reality and challenge internally myself and believe that I could. It required an internal growth or expansion, if we want. And that's what I did. And the moment you say, I'm willing to go there, I'm willing to face my fear, I'm willing to go beyond my comfort zone, then it took me from resisting the reality to accepting the reality and almost allowing that reality to be the catalyst of my internal experience and growth. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it sure does. And it brings me to another question, which is, what are some of the obstacles and challenges that you faced in growing your business? Because you almost went from, oh, well, this is a nice thing to do and I like doing it, to, boy, I better make some good money. So what challenges did you face doing that?
Yeah, and so literally it meant that, I'm going to be very practical. I had January 1st of that year, I had the responsibility of doubling my income, and I'm going to give you a number, from $10,000 a month to $20,000 a month, just to pay the mortgage and the commitments that a family has. And the first obstacle always is you. In my case, it was me. The belief system that I had that if I grew to that at that speed or to that size, I would either lose everything or I wouldn't be able to sustain it, or I can give you a whole list of things that would go wrong. Again, internal belief system. That was my first challenge. And then when you say to yourself, okay, even though I believe I can't do it, I'm going to have to do it anyway, then it becomes the bumping against the reality of the growth, which means, you might try things like a launch or a campaign that doesn't go that way, or you will invest in a resource that you think is going to pay off and it doesn't. Those are kind of tactical challenges that happen to all of us. And the truth is that each one of those, you can look at them as failures, or you look at them at, okay, that is a mistake I will never have to do in my business again. Let me give you an example. Years ago, I met this vendor and she was wonderful and I enjoyed meeting her. And she said, you know what? I'm very good at XYZ. And so you can, if you pay this much money, I can grow your list and I'll get you, 5,000 subscribers. And I was like, well, but how does this work? Is that real people? Is it just, she's like, no. We do this campaign and we do that and we do this. And it's like, okay, sure, great. Well, only to realize that it was too good to be true what she was offering to me. And I was kind of fool enough not to ask the right questions. And it was, as it was too good to be true, because the truth is that she sold me something that didn't work. And so what I learned is that to grow a business successfully and sustainably, you must do the work. Of course, there are resources you can use, but it is your responsibility to ask the right question. And if it feels too good to be true, go digging deeper.
Well, what you're saying is also important, that you learned a very important lesson.
Yeah.
And that's the fact. I mean, most people who are in business go through 10 or 12 failures before they get to a success. I mean, they'll try a dozen things that don't work until they find that magic thing that does work.
Yeah.
So it's just a part of your growth. And you were smart enough to realize, hey, you're not going to do that again.
Yeah.
But I know, I mean, I've gone through the same thing where I've tried things and it hasn't worked. And I thought, wow, that was foolish. But at the time, it looked like a good idea. And the important thing was not to repeat it. But you also, in working with your clients, you help them turn their life purpose into action. And I'm curious as to how you have them find their life purpose. Maybe it's asking them the question you asked yourself, what would I do for free? And then, of course, action is what gets it done, because you can have all kinds of skills and talents and abilities, but if you don't implement anything, nothing happens. So how do you get them to take whatever it is they discover and then turn it into action?
Yeah, great question. So the life purpose is that thing that, yes, it kind of answers that question, what would you do for free all day long? Or what is it that you have always been doing unconsciously, or the role that you play? Like I said, I've always been attracted to helping situations, bring clarity to situations. That is my life purpose. And so when we were just talking about TEDx and ideas and the core idea that you gift, I always say that the core idea of your work is kind of a cousin of your life purpose. It really is a statement where you turn your life purpose into an actionable purpose or an actionable idea. And so from your life purpose, you have to ask yourself, okay, this is what I am called to do in this world. This is what I'm wired to do. Now ask yourself, who do I want to do this for? That means, who do I want to be a hero to? Like, which part of the population or the world do you want to be in that purpose? So that's one question. And the second part of that question is, okay, if I do this to these people, what am I doing? Like, what kind of solution or what kind of help am I offering them? And by asking those two questions, you literally just defined who you're going to do work for and why you're going to do it, the outcome of it. And I have a framework that I always teach that is 2 actions so that outcome, which basically defines your idea, and is that, in my case, is to guide entrepreneurs or service entrepreneurs to clarity so that they can realize the impact of their work. That is my core idea of my work. It's a little different from my life purpose because I can actually take action on this. And then the next step is to say, okay, if this is at the core of what you do, then let's line up. I actually have developed a protocol, a methodology called the IDEA method. And what it does, it asks these questions. I said, okay, if this is what you do, this is a core idea, what is a unique way that you do this, which calls for the proprietary system? And then you ask yourself, what is the ideal business model that I can operate under to bring this idea and this proprietary system into the world? And then it asks another question, and so on and so forth. And I'll send you information on that. It literally walks someone from a life purpose statement to a full business that can be taken action on.
Well, in working with all these different types of people and working with all these different businesses, you've got to have learned something yourself. In other words, what has come out of all of this? In other words, you're doing all of these things, you're working with these people, they also are smart and intelligent and creative. So what have you learned about yourself that was unexpected as you did this?
Yes. Well, so about myself and about my clients is that ultimately we cannot take action. We are paralyzed if we have not taken action inside of ourselves first. What I mean is that there is no mountain you can climb if you have not imagined yourself climbing it before.
So in other words, you have to really believe in yourself and that you can do this before you'll take that step number one.
Yes.
Boy,
It's an eternal game.
It's hard to believe that doesn't happen, but I can understand that. So if you could go back, Dolores, at this point in your life, and give your younger self one piece of business advice, what would it be?
Business advice?
I was asked this question yesterday. I was on somebody's show, and she asked me, and I said I would have done it bigger, better, faster. But
Yes.
she said, well, how could you do that? You've done so much already. I said, I still could have done it bigger, better, faster.
Yes, and I agree with you. And I think at the core is, I would say, enough with the self-doubt.
Yeah.
Self-doubt. If you feel it, if you see it, if your gut tells you, just freaking do it. Do not ask 100 million questions until 100 million people for advice until someone says you shouldn't do it, even though 99 people said you should, and then you don't take action because of that person.
Well, I don't know if you work only with women or you work with women and men.
Women
but
and
if you work with both, do you find that women are more hesitant than men to take that action step, or is it equal?
Absolutely. I think, it can be fairly equal, but men will be more, will sustain the decision longer, meaning that it might take both a little bit of self-doubt to take the action, but once a man makes a decision, they don't really look back. Women look back every inch of the way.
Yeah, I can see where men say, well, I'm going to try it. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Yep.
And yet women might say, well, I'm going to try it. And if it doesn't work out, oh my gosh, what will I do then? So yeah. It's a really different way of looking at it. And it's really interesting to see that there is that difference there. So Dolores, where can people find out more about you and your work? Where should they go?
The best way to find out about my work is to come to my home, my website, mastersinclarity.com.
Mastersinclarity.com. So that's mastersinclarity.com. Mastersinclarity.com. And do you have something that you would like to offer our guests, or do you have something that they can find out about you on your site? Is there something that you give away? Absolutely.
So when you come to mastersinclarity.com, the first thing you're going to see is a big orange button that says free resources. And in that, you're going to find 2 books that I've written that you can actually download them for free, the PDF. One is all about speaking, TEDx, and clarifying that message and that core idea. The other book is about a similar format, but about standing out in your market. How do you differentiate yourself? And then we have some resources around business models and personal discovery. I also, I'm putting up, one of the things I am launching in the next couple of weeks is a clarity assessment, so that at any point in your business, you can take this assessment and ask yourself, and understand what part of your business needs your attention right now. Because when things are not working well, we tend to say, oh, the whole thing is a mess, right? We throw the baby and the bathwater and the soap and everything. But with this assessment, you can actually pause, take a breath and realize, well, no, not everything is broken. I only just have to tweak this part. So that's coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Fantastic. Well, Dolores has her assessment that you can get at mastersinclarity.com. And I have a quiz for you at sobquiz.com. If you want to find out more about yourself personally, you can go to sobquiz.com. So between Dolores and myself, you should find out all the things you need to know about you and be able to get the answers that you need. This has been delightful, Dolores. I want to thank you so much for being with us. And I look forward to you creating these wonderful opportunities for people at TEDx in the future. So thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, I had a great time, Gayle. Thank you so much for hosting me.
Thanks for listening to Women in Business. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And if you have any suggestions as to who you'd like me to have as a guest, just email me at gaylecarson13@gmail.com. Be sure to check out www.sob6tips.com. And in the meantime, go to www.spunkyoldbroad.com to see the resources I have for you.